Hello everyone, Zynar here, and we're going to go over a few tabletop RPG, I guess guidelines would be a good way to go. And now this is going to be for everybody, the players, the storytellers, and everything else. So, and those that are watching, because there's now that there's streaming services and that people stream their game sessions and such like that, there's going to be viewers as well. So, but let's start with the basics. We're going to jump right into it. No real, rhyme or reason for it in some ways. But so we're going to start with the community sense. We're going to go to players, then storytellers, and then we're going to go through some tough topics at the end. So this shouldn't be a very long video. But we're going to cover basics. Now, sense of community. Gamers come together, and you are now part of a community when you sit down at the table, whether it's online or in person. And there's a couple things you need to bring with you. One, you need to respect everyone else at the table, because it's just courtesy and things like that. You need to respect others, and that they come from different walks of life, they have different situations, and so on and so forth. Now, that also means that you need to be respectful about things like scheduling. Your scheduling, their scheduling, and such like that. If you're in a group that the scheduling is haphazard and it's not good for you, then leave, walk away. There's gonna be situations you're gonna have to say, no, I can't do this, and back and forth, or I don't want people to think that you have to game with this individual group, whatever it might be. There's enough out there now that you can find something else that fits your needs. So, but scheduling is a big one. Part of the respect part is that if your scheduling changes, inform everyone as quickly as possible, so as to not leave anyone else in a lurch. So, and if the game continues without you, let's say you can't make it, and, that expectation needs to be set ahead as well, that the game will continue whether you are there or not. And then you can't go, well, I wasn't there, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. That needs to be brought into the game as, at the very beginning, there needs to be discussion. So a session 0 discussion, basically, is things like scheduling and, what in real life situations can occur, and such like that. So also, if you're having a really, really terrible day, try not to take it out on with your friends at the gaming table. It's not their fault. It's not your fault if they're doing it to you. Bring it up and be respectful about that too. Sometimes you had a really bad day and all you want to do is smash and destroy everything, and it's going to be a role playing and story day, and you don't want any of that. And it's one of those things that it needs to be vocalized at the beginning. Hey, I'm having a really bad day. There's some way I can maybe blow off some steam during the game, or I might not be able to play because I'm really not I can't even say 100%, but I'm not in the mindset to play. I'm in the mindset to be part of the game. So, and that goes with the storyteller, the game master as well. That can happen to the game master, that the game master's having a terrible day, and things like that. So now if we go back to the in-person type sessions, then there's other things that need to be taken into account, like, excuse me, we're going to get together as a group. Are we going to bring snacks? Are we going to bring our own food? Are we going to carpool? Certain aspects like that are kind of important to figure out too, those kind of logistics. And again, it's to be respectful. We don't want someone to, that always brings the food, and then they get upset because they're the only ones bringing food, and nobody else is, or drinks, or whatever. And, that needs to be vocalized, that needs to be decided, that needs to be a nice, friendly conversation. So don't take advantage of your fellow gamers either way or another, and don't expect that if the person's the one that's been bringing the drinks, that they should always be bringing the drinks. Unless that was agreed upon. Of course, that's part of that whole respect piece. So, and as a viewer, also, you got to remember, when you're watching games, these people are playing a game. Please, if you're, in chat, try to keep it either with conversations about the game, the situation that's going on in the game, the players and stuff, and, there's going to be some conversations back and forth between viewers, possibly, but let's keep it towards game relation as best possible. Let's not jump into politics that aren't related, or, beliefs, or another stream, or game group, or anything. Don't do that. That's rude, that's not a nice thing to do, and it really doesn't help anything. But also, players and game masters, your audience, if you're streaming, is part of this community as well. So please keep them in mind that, when you're doing this, that they may have input, or they want to be involved a little bit, or they're going to comment about a really bad dice roll or really good dice roll, whatever it might be. And, try to be there for them a little bit too. You got to include them in your setup, basically. So, and keep that in mind as well. Otherwise, if you're streaming to a community and they're just watching and there's no interaction, that's kind of boring for the people watching in some ways. You can get a lot of life out of the audience, and you can help. Like, as an example, I was running a game once, and I had the people watching roll for loot. They can roll for encounters. I have them do it because why not? It's kind of fun. Let them take turns, of course. You can't just focus on one person. So there was that as well. Now, let's go into the player side, because most of the people watching this are going to be either audience, which we've covered, or players. Now, as a player, you need to be mindful of everyone's character wants, character, what they're going to try to play. Now, my thing is, don't compromise. If you have a character you like, that you want to play, and it fits the parameters of the game, it doesn't matter if 3 people are like a druid or something. It doesn't make a difference. That's something that's going to fall on the storyteller. Unless the storyteller specifically, the game master, says, I can't do this with 3 druids, can one of you make something else? That's part of that conversation back and forth. But, so many people compromise because they think that, well, we need a rogue, or we need this, or we need that. Have that conversation with your game master. Hey, do we really need this? Can I really play? 3 of us want to play, clerics, or barbarians. Can we all play barbarians? Can we all play, astronauts? Whatever the game system might be. And, then your game master is going to say, well, I really can't have 3. I can have 2, or, I really can't have any. It's not part of my campaign. Things like that. So that conversation has to happen as well. But players need to understand that it's not a competition. You guys are a team. Guys, gals. I apologize. But everyone's part of a team. And it's the team that succeeds or fails or accomplishes or doesn't goals and such. It's not necessarily the individual. The individual have role-playing parts for that. So, and it's like you have to be open to different ideas and different thoughts and different ways, because unless you really know everyone that you're gaming with, like, intimately, they could do things that you're like, I wasn't prepared for that. And there needs to be a level of discussion also at the beginning of what everyone's comfortable with, because there could be topics that can be discussed that aren't, that could be trigger topics or make people uncomfortable. Now, some of that could be because someone wants to role play through it because they want to work out their own demons or their own issues. Or in some cases, some people, they study psychology and they just want to work it out in, that sense, because they want to go through the steps. And they're weird and they want to, analyze their friends. And no, but it's like, so really there's some people have needs, some people, want to do just the hack and slash, and they don't want to roll dice. They don't want to role play. They want to roll dice. And, that needs to be discussed ahead of time as well. Sometimes a group does want to have a combat game. Sometimes a group wants to have a social game. It's everyone needs to be kind of on the same page and understanding, and compromising. So you can't just walk over one person that wants to do combat all the time. You're like, well, we're just going to roleplay it every time. And that's not fair. And then as that player, I'd have a conversation with your game master, and if the group's not for you, then walk away. You don't need to deal with that kind of environment. If you're not getting what you want out of it, walk away, which, is part of another piece. You're gaming to have fun. That's the whole point, right? Some people use it for escapism. Some people use it for, just the interaction with others. Some people that role play in these groups are socially awkward and can't meet in person, and they do this online because it's a safe sense for them. But ultimately, it's to have fun. It's to have a good time and interact with people that have, you guys or gals, you people have a common thread of the reason why you're at the table together. So, and that's what it's about. Now let's move into the Game Master a little bit, because it's a good segue. Because a lot of that stuff with the players applies to the Game Master. Now the Game Master, you have a lot more work to do, because you're the one developing the story, you're developing all of the surroundings, the settings, and everything like that. set your expectations for your players at the very beginning. If you're not going to have maps, tell them right away, I really don't do maps. Or, hey, I really only do maps. I can't not have maps. So, and some people might stray greatly from your story, your map, or whatever, and you have to adapt to it. And players as well, you need to understand that storytelling and the world, and, usually the Game Master knows the big picture. We're going from here, well, let me get on camera, here all the way to here, and the session's only going to be, this section here, or this section here. And, players don't go in a line, they go, nobody controls how the story goes, in that sense, because sometimes players do what players do. And honestly, that should be encouraged. This is a shared experience. It's not the Game Master story. It's not just the player story. It's everyone's story. That's part of the fun. So, we all get a piece of the pie in the creativity zone. So, I can make a really great character, and I want to do these wonderful things with my character, and, I can, but if I get shut down by other players or the Game Master repeatedly, then maybe this isn't the group for me. Maybe I'm not getting the input that I want to have. Maybe this is a railroad session. Now, convention sessions and one-shots are different, and we're not talking about those right now. That's going to be a little bit at the end here. But Game Masters, you have to understand, your players are going to have moods. They're going to have character quirks. They're going to have things that they want to accomplish, and you got to have open dialogue with all of your players. Sometimes story elements people aren't supposed to know about. It's supposed to be secret. So that's fine. Keep it secret. No big deal. And, and your story can adapt and grow and change. And you might get to a point where you're hitting a brick wall because, oh my God, my players went way out in left field and we're on a boat and I don't know how they got in a field, the kind of situation. And it's completely different. And you're going to have to either adapt or have an understanding that, hey, I got to take a break, I got to stop, or we have to stop here because you all went in such a crazy direction that I wasn't prepared for. Now, the ownership on that a little bit is on the storyteller because you need to be a little bit, for a long campaign, you need to be a little bit flexible and nimble to be able to cover things like that and keep the game flowing and the story flowing. Now, it's not expected of everybody, it just helps if you can. So, what that means also, players, you need to understand that when you do this to your Game Master, your Dungeon Master, the storyteller, whatever, you can't expect them to be Johnny on the spot. Don't, sit there and deliberately try to ruin a story or game because, well, that's what my character would do, or I'm just having a bad day. If it's legitimate, it follows an organic progression, well, it happens. Bad rolls or good rolls or a different decision can really take things off the track, as far as how things go. So just keep that in mind. And as a storyteller, you have to be ready to cover situations like that or say, hey, I need to stop. I'm not ready for this. Can we continue next session? Or can you give me an hour break? Or can you give me a 15-minute break? Whatever it's going to take. So, and I'll call out to one of my local friends. The joke was whenever he got into a jam, he'd have to take a bathroom break. And then it would be like a half-hour bathroom break. So, he did all of his thinking on the throne. But that was the joke. But really, it's kind of the thing. It's like, don't be afraid to say, hey, look, you guys threw me a big curveball. Can we take a break so I can compensate, I can, adjust, I can add this in, and just so you can keep rolling with it. Because it is a group experience still. Now, we're going to go to some special cases now at the end here that doesn't apply to everyone. So there are going to be situations, most likely, that as a player or even storyteller, you're going to be uncomfortable with. At the very beginning of the sessions, or before the game even starts, the campaign, whatever it might be, that conversation should have already happened. That this might cover controversial topics or ideas or beliefs or whatever, and whether you agree to it or not. If someone raises that trigger flag for whatever reason, because they're uncomfortable or wrong, and And that's when it starts becoming an adult decision. It's not like this isn't fun anymore. This is now a hard decision. And players, you have to be part of this decision too. You can't just throw a flag every time. And even though you agreed to having, such a potentially difficult game, adult up and say, hey, look, I'm not uncomfortable with this. If this is going to continue, I'm going to have to walk away. It's terrible, and I don't want to. And then the storyteller should be like, well, they should know, the game master should know, well, this is going to be limited to this, this, and this. I've worked with this player about it. We're going to finish this. We can finish it off camera, or we can finish it without you. Can you come back to the table afterwards when we're done? Or it's going to be like, well, this whole section of the campaign's about it. I'm sorry. I apologize. This isn't for you. But then you look like a jerk for not telling them up front about it. So, but now, unless that person agreed to it, then it gets all complicated, and people get hurt feelings, and it's terrible. But situations like that can occur. So, and other such social situations that make people uncomfortable. So, like, some people like to drink when they game, and some people don't. And that can cause problems too. If someone all of a sudden becomes heavily inebriated and is now basically playing drunk, and it changes everything, and some people are uncomfortable, not having any fun, that's something that can happen as well. Remember, these are social events. Social things are going to happen. Food, drink, conversation. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. Gaming is a social thing. So be prepared, though, that as an adult, especially, that things like this could occur. Now, going back to the teenager years where you're not going to be drinking, better not be drinking, well, unless it's legal, of course, in your country, whatever, but you shouldn't be doing these things during game anyway. There tends to be other situations, like, I'm going to use an example back in my gaming history where there might have been a particular, we're a group of guys playing, and there was a particular girl that was flirty and actually literally moved from one person to the next in the group, and that was very awkward and uncomfortable, and it wasn't cool in some ways, but, that's part of it's, again, a social group, a social thing, but a lot of people have hurt feelings, and it turns into kind of a toxic environment, and, we don't want this to be toxic. We're having fun. Our job here is to have fun, have a good time, forget the fact that I'm an office worker. I want to be able to fly and shoot lasers out of my eyes, I want that stuff, because I can do that in a game. So, keep that in mind, that situations like that could come up, that, you need to be adult enough to step away. Now, another thing that's been because of things like Critical Role and things like that, there's expectations, sometimes quite unrealistic expectations being set, because not everyone can be Matt Mercer, for example. It's unfair to expect it too in some cases, because not only is he a experienced storyteller, he's also a trained actor. That's kind of a big deal. When, if you expect your game master or dungeon master to just be just like him, because I want a game because I saw Critical Role and I saw all these other shows, and why aren't you like Felicia Day or Will Wheaton or what? It's like, they're celebrities, and their shows also are productions. They're not. You can't expect a huge production when you sit down at someone's table in their kitchen or something, or their basement, to play a game. So, there's the glamorous side too, and it's fun, and it's good, and it's brought a lot of light onto this hobby, but set your expectations right. Not everyone, like, I'll use an example. When you play basketball, you're not expecting to play with Michael Jordan, are you? Are you? Because that's, hey, I was invited to a basketball game. I'm going to have, Kobe and Michael Jordan, all these fantastic players, because that's what basketball is. Well, no, it's a bunch of people that, want to play basketball, and some people could really suck, because that just happens, but they enjoy playing. So, that's what gaming can be like too, but don't have that expectation where you can't, let me first say that you can't have the expectation that every production is going to be, or every game is going to be like a huge production, where there's going to be first-rate miniatures and 3D terrain and soundtrack and lighting and all this other stuff, like almost movie quality. You can't expect that. It's not realistic. Now, if the expectation was brought up front, that's different. But in all honesty, gaming is a bunch of people that want to get together to have fun. And sometimes they get together because they can't do it in person, so they do it online. sometimes due to geographic issues or because social anxieties, they can't meet you in person, whatever. It's not going to be the same as, these huge productions. So I just want everyone to enjoy their games. I want everyone to enjoy gaming. And that's the reason I kind of did this impromptu PSA, I guess, or something. Sorry, I don't mean to spike my mic or peak my mic. But, that's kind of the goals. I just want to kind of open people's eyes a little bit and remind people that you need to be respectful. You need to be, worry about things like scheduling, communication, and such like that. So then everyone can have a good experience. Everyone's going to have fun. It could be janky, third grader drawn pictures and stuff with items and stats and everything if you wanted to. And that's still being creative, and that's still adding to the game. It doesn't have to be, I have to pay an artist to make some items for me for my game because that's what I know. That's how my game should be. If you can afford it and you want to do it, sure, there's lots of artists out there that would love to do the commissions. If you can't, then, just adding that creativity that you actually did something. If you drew your character or had someone commission your character, that just builds into the game. But you can't expect super production. You can't expect, all these things. And you can't expect a fantastic audience if you're streaming. There's toxic people that jump in on games too. And, there's a lot that goes around. But just remember, you need to have fun. That's the whole point of gaming, is to have fun. To have a good time, to laugh, let go, and, when your character does accidentally slip and stab themselves with the rusty dagger because they rolled so bad, well, that's kind of funny. If it wasn't you, somebody else would be laughing at it, So just have a good time with it, roll with it. That goes both ways. Punny. But, so roll with it and enjoy it. And, I want everyone to understand that this is something that people do to have a good time. This is their fun. This is their, I could be playing a video game, or I could be role-playing. I'm going to choose role-playing instead of playing a video game because I want to interact with people differently or whatever it might be. So have a good time with it. Enjoy your day. And I will hopefully be back with another one covering things in a more specific sense, possibly. Or if anyone has any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will try to answer them. Or maybe if I get enough of them, I'll even create another video and answer them all in a video. So, thanks for coming out, and this was a Thread Raiders production. I don't know if I can say that. So, I recorded this for Thread Raiders because I want, more people to understand some of the things that we do and why we do it and some kind of the guidelines that go with it. So, thanks for watching this video. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. That way you can get more videos like this or more Thread Raider type videos, which can be video games, role-playing sessions, all that different stuff. And we'll see you next time.